Norman, come here. Oh, yeah. I guess you are first. Hold on just a second here. I'm gonna get my pups. Come here, big baby.
I don't remember how to
Come on. Normopotamus. Come here. Oh, come on. What's up, fellas?
Bring it down more towards you.
Happy Sunday to you guys here. You know, it's this is an American thing to do here, so we're gonna have our whiskey, nice Kentucky bourbon here. Gonna sit down with my dog and chat with you guys. So tilt the screen. I'm gonna do it. Oh boy, I'm gonna need some help with that. There, I can't reach it. So happy Sunday to you guys. You know, I wanted to say this is to all the dads. My kids are actually out inside the house going to be watching, but I just wanted to say to all the dads, you know, this is definitely spend some time with your kids. Enjoy them. It's crazy how fast that junk goes. It's absolutely nuts. It seems like I closed my eyes and, you know, my son was born a couple of weeks ago is what it kind of seems like, but glad to have you guys with us. I'm so freaking stoked with all the things that we got going on here with all sorts of things in the future that we're looking forward to doing. And yeah, Norman is going to town with his phone right here. This is a little nuts here. But anyway, I just wanted to say I'm so stoked with all the things that we got coming up. We got some more projects. We got a couple things I wanted to bounce off you guys. You guys need to help convince my wife that I need a drift car. Okay, that's something that is like top priority right now here. So just, you know, we're considering a couple things, and you know, we'll go from there. But anyway, let me read a couple things here. I'm so glad that you guys are hanging out on a Sunday. Tell me some of the stuff that you guys got going on. Oh, Norman, we're gonna get him back here there in a little bit here. Oh, so no, we're not dynoing. Not. So ultimately, I love doing the tuning thing. I'm super excited to be sharing some of the racing stuff with some veterans and all that. I want to get into some things, you know, being able to take guys out and have a great time. I got some future, you know, reaction videos that we're going to try and shoot, and that should be pretty fun. You know, scaring the crap out of some people in maybe the Miata or the, you know, some other projects that we got going on, but. Definitely, if I could take some guys out drifting, that would be pretty sweet too. That's something that we're working on. Yeah. So possible. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna do that here. So, yeah, no, I just wanted to share with you guys on Sunday, though. It is kind of crazy how fast the kids grow up and all that type of thing. So definitely, dads, be a good positive influence on your kids. Take them some races. That's awesome time, something they'll never, ever, ever forget. So some of the best memories I got with the kids is going to Sebring, doing some stuff like that. Just turned my kids on to a Eric Church song called Talladega, and the song's about him and his dad. And, you know, having fun at Talladega and kind of just like making some awesome memories and stuff. So enough about that. Just wanted to say thanks for watching here. I wanted to. I got a guy that was asking me about some torque versus horsepower. That I had a little story I like to share with some people here, and this is like again totally freaking random. We're going to you know, address some of the stuff that you guys say and just whatever pops in my head, because what we're doing is just totally random like that. So we have a little story I like to tell. People are always talking about, you know, horsepower and I got this and I got that and whatever. The real thing is torque over time is what wins a race. So back in the day, I had a customer who used to go by Juiced SS 262, and at the time he was like vying to be one of the top Tampa racing, streetcar guys, and he was making a whole bunch of power in stock bottom man LS1. He was making like 660 horse and 660 torque. The car's about 3,600 pounds. So I had another friend who had a 240, and at the time he had the stock bottom end record with that car. He was making about 640 horsepower, and he was making about 420 pound-feet of torque. So at 420 pound-feet of torque and 2,400 horsepower, or 2,400 pounds, versus a customer of mine at the time that was very much pushing the envelope for the stock bottom end, 660, 660, and 3,600 pounds. So 1.5 times the weight, 1.5 times the torque. And kind of interesting little way on how this worked out is that this was like a really, really big showdown. It was like import versus domestic, and it was like me, one of my guys versus another shop, and it was just this big, big, big hoopla and showdown. And the race was just like, and it was like dead even the whole time. The torque just, he won by a fender. So at that time, I was like, I didn't even think that my guy could really be able to hold up to this other car. But it really broke down to it, and it really hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, it was the torque, and it was the torque over time. So 1.5 times the weight and 1.5 times the torque. It really actually worked dead nuts even. It was absolutely an amazing race. Definitely one of the coolest videos that came out of Tampa racing. And Dan, I hope you're watching. And if not, we got to get that video and revisit it, and we'll throw it up there at some point. But it'll be pretty cool. But so kind of for I wanted to be able to broaden my horizons about doing some drifting and all that, and wanted to talk with you guys about that. I have a couple of ideas, and one of the things that I was looking at was possibly a 350Z, because I heard it was going to be pretty darn easy to make a drift car. Just something budget, just something to get really good car control. So it's something that, I don't know, I'm really, really contemplating it. I got a couple of other ideas. We definitely wanted to do something like that. Yeah, I saw the LS Swap a Super. That is definitely like, ooh, that would really piss a lot of people off, and that's right up my alley. I like it. That's freaking awesome. Really, it would be cool. Like, why not a GTR? Let's just LS Swap a GTR. That would be. We'll do that with all-wheel drive. I have a guy that we were talking with about that. It would be great. So. Flint, Michigan. Actually, the guy that I just mentioned was from Flint, Michigan. That is so cool, man. That is really, really cool. Yeah, the Miata, it would be it's a tough car to drift, and if I wad that thing up, it's just not quite the same as wadding up maybe like a $3,000 car. It is something that I'd really like to consider, but I don't know. All right, hold on. Yeah, I think a friend of mine, yeah, the 350Z, yeah, Adam LZ, yeah, I got you. I think that the GTR with the twin turbo is a drift car already, but I don't know. You guys want to see a little bit more of Norman, see that sexy beast? I'm gonna pull him back over here in just a little bit here. He's got a gigantic head on him here. Norman, come here. Come on. Yeah, just a minute ago, we were jumping, or when we were ready for this, he did a running jump and landed right on my nuts. It was really, I wish we were going live earlier, because it was a pretty bad. Come on, bud. Come on. You're being lazy. Yeah, I thought about I think an eventual swap of the 350Z would be up that road, but I would like to be able to get, all right, so Norman, Colorado LS, that is, it's kind of already got something like that, but it's definitely a good idea. All right, so somebody asked, where did the name Faster Promise come from? We actually, on the last live feed, kind of mentioned that a little bit, and I did kind of want to talk about that a little bit, but basically, I've been around this my whole life. Since I was about 4 years old, my dad did an LS swap in a, It's making it hard to concentrate. It's breathing heavy in my ears, you know. Okay, so my dad had a business where he'd started doing the EEPROM chips, and the proms back in the day was what we called chips, and that was how you would modify the car. And it was EEPROM was kind of synonymous with a chip, and basically my father passed away when I was 18, and I kind of got into this. And from that point on, it was we basically incorporated business, changed a bunch of other things around, and that's kind of where Fast Chips name was already taken at the time when I was 18 and started to do this. So that's kind of where we're at though. What's that? I can't even hear you. Oh, my buddy. PROM stands for Programmable Read-Only Memory. So that is definitely Programmable Read-Only Memory, Fast PROM. So Fast Chip was, like I said, another company out there, and that was Ed Wright, actually out of Oklahoma. And from there, basically, we kind of started in about 2001. So I've been doing this for about 18 years. Come on, Norman, come on. I've been doing it about 18 years, and looking forward to doing a bunch more stuff. I like how usable all the new stuff like the Holly is, and kind of excited about doing some other things. I just messed around with a Mega Squirt for the first time in ever, actually a couple days ago. So all sorts of new things out there, and excited to do a bunch of new things. Oh, he's good. He's good. So yeah, I like the idea of LS swap the Supra. I really wanted to LS swap a GTR, really kind of make it a big hoopla out of it. But we'll see how it goes. LT4 swap a Supra, yeah, I like it. Geometries are good drift cars. I don't think so, Sam, but installing a larger diameter MAF automatically require a higher injector duty. No, good question here. So I will field a bunch of questions, and kind of wanted to talk to you about a bunch more things anyway. But so if you go with let's just talk about a given orifice size. That being said, if you go to a larger MAF, it is effectively going to sample less because the velocity will have slowed down. If velocity slows down, it is going to see different amounts of airflow, and thus it's going to register less airflow. So you would have to proportionally up the injector duty cycle, but it's going to end exactly where it was, unless, of course, the airflow is actually greater in the end. All right. So the guy that's stationed in Guam, man, that's awesome, man. Thanks for watching. I'm trying to catch up here. LS swap a Ferrari. I like the idea, probably out of my price range, though, at the moment. That is a pretty cool thing, but we'll see. Colorado drift truck, like the idea. Gulfport, that's pretty darn close by. Whiskey, hell yeah. You know what? Every time I see whiskey, no, I'm not going to take a shot because I'll get overwhelmed with that. But hopefully by the end of this, it's going to be a little bit more interesting. We'll see where it takes us, all right? It's not exactly E90, okay, but it is probably, it's about 100 proof, so yeah, Maker's Mark. Today's beard is brought to you by Beard Buddies. I believe it's, or Bearded Buddies. They sent me some beard oil, and I just wanted to say a shout out to them. Thank you. That was very cool of you. I appreciate it there. So somebody asks, I have recently picked up HP tuners and been trying to tune a stock 5.3 E38 with exhaust and intake. What is the best way to VE tune GM, and should I delete the MAF? Not necessarily. E38 is fairly straightforward. You should do some virtual VE tuning, disable the MAF, and work through that. I was John Dobson, I think I tuned your car up in Pennsylvania, I believe. Cletus is actually on the way to Kansas City, just got done with Streetcar Takeover. I talked to him a couple hours ago, and we just chatted. He said he was going to be here and saying hello. Oh, Dickie V. Look at that, man. That's cool. Hey, Dickie. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. John has nothing to do with a wet shot. No. So actually, a funny question here. Somebody asked, where did Cletus and I meet? He actually was a customer of mine, and there was a little bit of a falling out with another tuner. and I was kind of blowing him off and all that for a while. And I was just like, hey, look, I'm plenty busy. And one thing turned to another. And after a while, we kind of really became good friends. He was very, very pleased with the work that I did for his C7. And it was just kind of a natural, like, little brother thing. It's like I like to bust his balls and he likes to bust my balls, but he's like the little brother I never had. So really, really cool relationship. It's definitely good. All right. Oh, what type of heads and cam setup for an LS2 GTO looking to make 700 wheel horsepower? There is an EPP blower cam, and I would probably say definitely do the heads. It's less pumping losses. So let's touch on this. This is a great point. A lot of times I get guys, and I don't know if I can say this, but Dickie V is he's actually he's a very, very sharp tuner. He's actually very well known. If he wants me to say something, I'll say something, but he's a pretty sharp dude. Let's just say that on a big, big, big scale. So he knows this very, very well. So let's just think about this. The more you try and cram in an engine and that piston is coming up to push that exhaust charge out, when the exhaust is open, it wants to freely flow. Okay, so back in the day, people were like, hey, you need back pressure. You're not going to make any power because you don't have any back pressure. Well, that's just a bunch of junk, so that's not even close to true. You might make a little bit more part throttle torque, but that's it. We're not talking about part throttle. We're talking about making some power here. So we want to go full throttle and make big power there. So that being said, if you're wanting to make a bunch more power, you don't want back pressure. Turbos don't want any sort of back pressure whatsoever, and neither do blowers. Anything forced induction, you really don't want anything that is going to constipate, for lack of a better expression, that exhaust. So if you can have that piston coming up and you have a really big aggressive ported head, and there is such thing as too much to where you kill velocity. So let's think of it this way. In order to make the best velocity is how you're going to make the best torque. But that piston wants to come up and push that exhaust charge out without any resistance whatsoever. So back to what I was talking about there. If you can have a larger port exhaust on there and a decent amount of duration on the exhaust, you will make some power. So an EPP blower cam does have a lot of exhaust duration. It's something like a 227, 242 or something, and it runs and drives really, really smooth. And that's not kind of something that we would recommend on an LT4 or something where we want to, anything forced induction. Like we kind of port our CTSV heads in such that we open up that exhaust port a lot more than most store-bought cylinder heads. So if we can open up that exhaust port and have a lot of exhaust duration, you will make linear power. I know I'm getting a little bit... we want some more dog here. All right, well, we'll get to the dog here in a little bit, all right? I know he's the star of the show here, but he is pretty... he is a stud. He is a stud. Somebody asked, is the Ford the fastest car that I've tuned? It has yet to be proven, but I think Leroy is going to be the fastest for a little bit. Leroy is going to be most frequently raced. It's going to be tough to be able to beat the schedule of what Leroy is on. The German side of the Fords, I don't think so. It's going to stay domestic, buddy. There might be a Japanese car in the future just so I can beat it into a bloody pulp and possibly stick it into the wall. Okay, but you have to help convince my wife about that, all right? So, okay, so funny thing about, I actually did do some tuning for street speed, and we are, it's not, we're just not, we decided it's just best to not do that. So we're just going to stick with that. So try and say something or not saying something, more dog. Oh, sorry. Somebody asked about, how do you feel about failing Tavares? Well, that's not really a fair, that's not really a fair shakedown. But let me just say, I think I was about the only one that would take a crack at the car. I had kind of nothing to lose. It's totally different gibberish software that really wasn't quite a fair shakedown. So I gave it a fair shot, and we're actually going to be meeting up together, and we should be able to make it a bit better. That was like the first real shakedown. We kind of knocked out some of the bugs, addressed some of the issues. On tuning a car that has 1,000 horsepower, it's certainly usually not going to go right the first time, especially on something like that. So in all fairness, it wasn't fair to it was kind of like getting thrown to the wolves and seeing how you do. And it's like I think we definitely made some steps in the right direction, and things will most certainly be going better in the future with that. And we should be able to make a lot more power with it, get some better drivability, and hopefully it'll be in the end a better final deal. All right, dog. Norman, come here, give me some. Come on. Hold on. We're not gonna knock down the computer. Let's do that. Come on. He's gonna make me very, very bored. Come on. All right, here, get that junk up there. Oh. This guy's about 90 pounds. How much is he? Like about 80 pounds? Oh man. Oh boy. Oh yeah. All right. Mercedes, am I up for the challenge? Yes, I think so. Yeah. I'm gonna try and read this over the heavy breathing and see now I can't even see. Oh. Yeah, I appreciate the getting my back with some of that torch. Thank you, John. I appreciate that. So yeah, Holly and Norman, this is the good goods right here. Okay. Look at this face. Look at that. How can you not like that? Look, it's like a Mickey Mouse smile right there. Look at that. Oh man, who's doing the freaking kitty thing? Somebody asked what was the latest, most powerful car. It seems like I'm doing a 1,000 horsepower car at least one a week. I was up in Pennsylvania, did 3 cars that were 1,000 horsepower. It's kind of crazy. It's man, everybody wants to make more and more power. See, it's not just people are trying to make 1,000 horsepower. People are making 1,000 horsepower in the stock bottom end. And everybody's like, oh, I want more power. I thought my combination was going to make more power. It's like, I want this to make power and I want it to last. I don't want to basically just give you a, grenade with the pin pulled, it's just like we want to be able to make stuff last. So I had, last week I had a car that made 1040 on a stock bottom end Z06. It's actually a guy who goes by Justin Yo on Instagram. And I don't know if he's going to be watching here now, but he came up this Friday and I did his buddy's car, and that car also made 1040 stock bottom end. New Z06s, 2017, 2018s, and pretty crazy nuts power, decent amount of boost and nitrous. So it is amazing. Now, how long can they last? I mean, we're going to do the best we can to make them last. So we'll see. Oh, I'm having a hard time reading here. What kind of a name is Sparkpipe? Oh man. Yeah, this looks like I'm little, but no, I'm actually 6 foot and 180 pounds. My dog has a gigantic head. Okay, it's unless you see him in person here. So unless you see him in person, it really changes your perspective on this. And in fact, Cletus or Garrett makes me look really, really small too. And whenever we're together, people are like, "Man, I thought you were so much smaller." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 6 foot, 180, and he's like 6'6". Yeah, Farpipe is Bruce. Is he on there?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh boy, this is gonna take a turn for the first. Brett from PFI is an awesome guy. He's really, 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 really positive. He's a pretty cool guy. I only had a brief mention of him or meeting with him, but he's definitely a cool guy. I think we got a lot of things in common, and he seems to be a great guy. I don't know anything about him calling out Leroy, but I think he has some sort of record Honda, to my knowledge. He's got some sort of record car, and I think he's actually doing some sort of rear-wheel drive Honda coming up. So he's got some clout. I think he might be able to give Leroy a good run for his money. So we'll see. All right, Norms. Cooper's actually with Garrett at on the way to Kansas City. Somebody's asking about, am I going to tune your yellow twin turbo Z06 or something next week? I guess so. Let's get on the schedule here. I have considered diesel tuning. Hey, thanks for the donation there. I have considered diesel tuning, but it is kind of like a whole nother. It's like a whole different language. So I am more than busy enough with what I got, and kind of tuning anything other than that is definitely a little bit different. So, opinion of LS3 has an intake on an LS2. That is a good idea. It's very decent on dollar wise. If you sell your LS2 heads, it really does make it well worth it. Stock LS3 heads are kind of like ported LS2s. So if you actually port your LS3s, that it would be 2 steps ahead, and that would be pretty good. So, in a lot of ways, the LS3 stuff was kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But doing a ported LS3 heads and intake would definitely be the overall better solution there. Holly Banana Pancakes is with Garrett. Oh. Somebody asked, all right, well, let's do 4th gen with the spun main rod bearing. I'm looking to stroke it. What do you recommend? Stroking it is definitely going to get more torque. A bigger engine is always going to yield more torque. So if you can have that bigger engine spin at a higher RPM, now you're doing something. So both more torque and horsepower. That is how you're going to make the thing fast. So as you go proportionally larger in motor, you need a proportionally larger go in camshaft. So go higher compression. Don't be afraid to put, roughly about 12-to-1. You can make that work on 93 octane. What is the price of a pure grit Golden? Like we have a dog named Jericho, and he's not the prettiest one, and I love him despite him not being the prettiest one. But Norman is the prettiest one. I will definitely say that. There is a disparaging difference in price between Norman and Jericho. And Norman is definitely the high grade. Norman's like, let's just say, I don't know, he's like the Bentley of the dogs or something like that. Okay, I don't know. Jericho's the Honda. All right. So if you see Jericho, you'll understand. But Norman is definitely he's definitely well worth it. So he's worth his weight in gold. All right. Oh, somebody has 416 versus 427. The 427 it's a good, depending on if it's a 4125/4, that would be the way to go. Is that right? Is that right, Bruce? Yeah. I hear you and Sam. Sam, go way back. All right. What do I think of the 2JZ engine? It is definitely an amazing engine. Okay, no doubt it. But as the nature of it, you have to depend on the big turbo. So if the 2JZ was a little bit larger, I mean, it is amazing what it can spin to. The fact that you can get 9,000 RPM at that thing when it's really, really super nasty built. I've been around a number of 1,000 horsepower plus Supras. They are very impressive, but let's just quantify that. So the thing is, with a turbo, in order to make that much power, it takes a while for it to get in the curve. So you're kind of waiting on that turbo. If it were an automatic 2JZ, that's kind of the way to go. If you can do something like a Power Glide or a Turbo 350, Turbo 400 with a 2JZ, that's how those darn things are really, really nasty fast. That being said, there's no replacement for displacement, and then go ahead and add a power adder, like some sort of positive displacement supercharger or a turbo. That's the way to go. All right. Somebody asked if my dyno was loaded and what is the largest wheelbase you can put on. I don't know the largest wheelbase. We've done some extended cab trucks. There is kind of a way to lift the darn thing up and, to be able to get her up on there without hitting the back and all that. What did I study in college? I actually studied business for a couple years, and the thing was that I was tuning on the side, and I was kind of thinking about it, I was like, man, I'm spending so much time in college doing all this other junk, and this is after my father passed away right as I was a senior in high school, so I started tuning that summer. I got a 1985 Corvette, and I was like, I'm going to buy this car. We got the car for like $5,000, modded it up, and had spray on it by the end of the year. And I actually went out and competed and beat some of the fastest street cars that were here. Actually, let's talk about that story here for a little bit here. So let's touch on that. That's a good story I'd like to share. So anyhow, my father had a C4 Corvette. He was known for drag racing. He was one of the first 3 tuners in the country, and he was making a profession out of professionally tuning. So we had provided chips for a number of other different places that were big, well-named tuning shops, and he was kind of the guy at the time. There was 2 other gentlemen that were very well known doing so, and Ron Zimmer and Steve Cole. My father was the 3rd one, and he made a very decent living doing what he did. He had a C4 that was the fastest naturally aspirated Corvette for about 4 years. So from circa 1996 to 2000, we had the fastest naturally aspirated Corvette, of which I actually still own. And Norman's tossing around a bone here. He's being a little goofball here. But so anyway, that's kind of where I came from. I'd been around drag racing my whole life. I had kind of seen what my father had done, and as his health deteriorated, I kind of saw things kind of coming, and I was like, I'm going to stay local. I went to a local community college and decided to do that for a little while tuning on the side. Met some people, got into the LS community. I didn't have an LS car, but I was kind of just, that's kind of where I was going because everything was LS. It was amazing how fast the cars were going, so that was the obvious thing to get to. LS2 Edit software came out, and it was very expensive at the time, but I was we kind of forked out the money and was like, this is the route that we're going to go. We're going to be tuning LSs, and I was very, very early in the game, and that's kind of where that went. But so because my father had the fastest C4 Corvette, I decided, hey, I'm going to learn on that same platform because he had deceased. I had some mutual friends and a lot of different people that I'd kind of cultivated that were friends through my father, and in a way I almost inherited them, and kind of went from that to on up. So started with the TPI motor, which is complete junk, makes peak power at like 4,800 RPM, has bottom end torque. Learned a little bit about that thing. So we did heads cam, different intake manifold, and nitrous. And with the nitrous, I was able to go out and compete with some of the fastest LS cars, and actually supercharged Mustang. These guys were like, also at the time vying for King of the Streets. So my first night out, I actually had a hidden nitrous kit in my car. And I had a bunch of friends that I had brought with me. I got invited to this like secret little, street race place. And I was like, all right, sweet. And I kind of stalked these guys before this whole thing happened. And they had a track event, and I went to the track event. I knew what each of them were running. I knew what I ran because I went to the track, and a couple weeks before, I knew what I would run. So I kind of had, I just was definitely very stalkerish on this. But I knew the top 2 guys. Like, they made me race somebody, so I raced somebody, and I beat him, but I didn't spray him. I had this completely hidden nitrous kit. And I think I had mentioned on the previous live feed that I was friends with John Stewart, who used to started Nitrous Express. He also started some other nitrous companies. But anyway, kind of cultivated a relationship with him, bought this really, really expensive nitrous kit, and I used it on both those guys. And I actually went out my second race, and I beat both those guys in front of the home crowd. And it was really, really interesting because we went out and we had this U-turn and went to a light. And then they couldn't see the beginning of the race, and it wasn't like I jumped them. It was just we went out, and I beat these. It was a 3-wide race, and I beat both these guys. And everybody out there was in complete disbelief. But it was definitely a proud moment. All my friends were like, yeah, up in the air. It was just a crazy cool moment. So it was definitely one of the better moments. I came back and was like, all right, I got nitrous here. I'll show you guys where it is, you know. But a bunch of the people went on to become customers of mine, and it was cool. It was actually, this is way back in what they called Bad Rap. So it was Bad Rap, which was Bay Area Drag Racing and Performance. So very much dating myself, but this is right in. I think this is right around the 2000, 2001, beginning of 2001. But that's kind of one of the areas where I came from. One of the little stories I wanted to share. So let's get back to some other stuff here. Beeping. Yeah, I mean, if somebody's hearing the beeping, I'm sorry, we can't find the beeping. I think we have a fire alarm that's. But you know what time it is? It's whiskey time. Thank you. Yes, Jared is Cletus. Build, tune, race. Yes, Holly is actually very, very forgiving, very easy to work with. HP tuners, dealing with OEM engine management is way more complex than just the straightforward stuff of Holly. Holly is pretty much shrinking down everything that's in there and kind of concentrating it in much more user-friendly stuff. But Holly is awesome software. I think I've done maybe 4 or 5 cars with it now. In fact, I tuned a car start to finish in about an hour, and I couldn't believe it at how smooth everything went. But it's awesome. So that is something that we're going to try and do in a future video. What's that? There's every once in a while I will get kissed by the dog open mouth. It is involuntary. Okay. In fact, actually, yeah, no worries. Yeah. All right. Much respect to your work. Wondered how many mods have you done in your Duramax? I actually have a full bolt-on Duramax, and I love it. It was really a little bit anemic stock, and I'm glad that I modified it. It's definitely some of the best money I've ever spent on it. Not going to say exactly what's done, but I will say Pila Motorsports, I believe they're over in Jupiter, did all the work for me, and they did a fantastic job. I want to say that the truck is supposed to be somewhere around that 900 pound-feet of torque area and should make somewhere about maybe 400 horsepower. Supposed to run somewhere about a 13.5 at kind of a low 100 mile an hour. It's a very decent, grandpa-looking truck. It does what it needs to do. It tows my trailer, and I love it. Just need a better seat in. Okay. Well, hello from Dubai, man. That's pretty darn awesome. I don't often smoke cigars. I will say that, but thank you very much. Newfoundland, Canada. Cheers, mate. Wichita, Kansas. Not kissing the dog open mouth. Yes, we already went over those stories. Change the battery in the fire alarm. I would if we could find it. Okay. So we're actually, this is the shop that is behind my house, and this is kind of where we had done some of the building of Leroy and the bays over there. If you guys watched the video where Garrett has scared my tuner and all that Leroy build initially deal, that's where we're at. So got air conditioning in here and just chilling. So I thought I'd come back to here since this just where we kind of did some old stuff rather than being in the house and all that. Chuck Norris beard upgrade with a hidden fist. I like it. Can Holly not GT Mustang computer? I'm tired of mail tunes. Yes, you can probably do a mail order on, or you can do a Holly on a 95 GT. You could pretty much do a Holly to run a greenhouse, is what I've been told, because of its proportional and integral stuff. So you can do some amazing things with the Holly. It is truly amazing software. I will say that. It's definitely, I'm excited to do some more cars with it and really kind of get the swing of things and all that stuff. So Cletus and Cars in Austin, Texas. Hell, I didn't even know that was happening. Maybe we might have to try it. I am getting a little bit tired, but hey, whiskey. No, I actually am a little tired, and whiskey. The Holly Sniper, to my knowledge, is basically a more simplified version. Doesn't offer all the bells and whistles, but it is a pretty darn good software. I think the Sniper is what we have on the Dale truck, and that was very kind of bare bones in a lot of ways, but it does work out pretty darn good. Thank you. We're going to try and keep it up. Appreciate it. Got a 500 wheel heads and cam 5th gen Camaro, and it is on how to break the 600 wheel horsepower naturally aspirated. It's going to take a 427, brother, or really spinning that thing ultra high. So if you got a stock bottom end, LS3 based Camaro, and you're making about 500 wheel NA, that's pretty darn good. The E85 will bump you a little bit, but you're not going to get that much of a gain. I would just say, hey, look, man, 100 shot, spray it, get her done. Yes, the fidget spinner and a whole lot of other stuff was here. Okay, so we've got backyard fires. When there was any love for the rotary engine. Rotary engine is an absolutely amazing engineering piece. Okay, doesn't make any torque. Okay, if you have an ultralight car, it's cool. On one of my intros, there is a rotary car that is on the dyno that's having a big backfire on the side. Pretty cool video. Down in Miami, I took that, and that was an ultralight car. So again, think of torque as strength and horsepower as speed. If you have a ultralight car, and if you're like running a go-kart, okay, and a rotary might be a possible solution, or something very light. Multiple rotary engines, so 1, 2, 3 of them might be an idea with boost. Then you can make some real torque and really go fast. So it is definitely a cool engine, but it is very small. So if you can make some more torque, then great. I'm scrolling down here. Can you give the puppers a pet? I'll get the dog over here at some point here, okay? Somebody asked, how do I charge per hour for tune? Most of the time it's a flat rate. Sometimes I get myself into a dill of a pickle. It's sometimes some cars can go really fast. Sometimes they can take 6 or 7 hours, and I'm getting my butt kicked by some sort of problem. And fart pipe, you've brought me a number of those, but you're a good fella. All right, love you anyway, buddy. How much do I have to pay for this video to be topless? It's not happening there. All right, here we're getting down to where was that? Where was that at? Hold on, sorry here. Factory LM7 advice. I need you to specify on that. That is a fantastic motor. If I'm not mistaken, that is the aluminum version 5.3. I think it has the 243 heads on it, if I'm also not mistaken. It is a great engine. I tuned a Miata that has that, and they were trying. There was this group of guys that I had worked with. In fact, they're the ones that I had done swap with. Was V8 Roadsters. They were trying to start a race series using the LM7 and their custom cam spec. It was a pretty cool idea. Makes decent power. I want to say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 400, 420 horse. And in an ultralight car, it's really good. The LM7 will support a lot of boost. So if you're going to do a 5.3, it does make very good power. And you can throw it in, throw it in something. I would do something light, and be able to make some good power. If you want to ask another question about that, tell me what, kind of specify exactly what you would want, Adrian, on that, and let me know. Johnny Walker Blue Label. I actually had some Johnny Walker Black Label, which is a very nice smoky whiskey. And again, you know what it is? It's whiskey time. Holly could run just about anything here. So yeah, we'll oh my gosh. Yeah, go watch some Dale Truck stuff. There is I think we had shown a little bit of the software on that. Okay, got the Iron Block LS7 boosted. Yeah. If it is in fact. Now, I don't know if there's multiple gens of the LM7. I'm not totally sure. I don't work with Chargers at the moment, and I don't really work with Diablo. Thanks, Portland, Oregon. Glad to have you, brother. All right, easy to make an OBD1, more like an OBD2 computer. Got to be. Okay, so I have had a rash of guys with the LT or earlier LT stuff that were. You know what? Actually, come to think of it, I think they were probably mostly 96, 97. No, that's not true. You can definitely put an LS1 processor on an LT car. So do consider it. It is very decent money, but it's money well spent. If it is a little bit expensive to do, all things considered, but you are totally changing the dynamic of the tune when you convert to an LS1 processor. It is a far superior way to go. So do consider that. All right, let's go. The Power Whisperer. We got a couple of other ideas for some stuff, but we're gonna have to wait on that. It's gonna have to keep you baited. Hey, this isn't Scotch. This is Kentucky bourbon. All right, brother. This is Norman. Hey, South Texas. Oh, jeez. All right, hold on. Where we go? Somebody said 5.7 into a or 5.3 into a 5.7 and shooting nitrogen. What pistons do you recommend? Drink. If somebody. Honestly, I think 150 shot you can get away with on my stock bottom end for just about forever if it's tuned all right. So, what's that? Oh, so look at this giant head. Look, proportionately, he's got a very large skull. He's all head. I think if we weighed his head, it would probably weigh more than a human head by far. All right. Can I tune an LSA supercharger on an HSV? I probably could. I haven't tuned any HSVs. Hold on. Drink every time it beeps. Brother, I only have so much here, and we are getting a little low, but we're going to try. I am a little bit behind the chat, but I'm doing my best here. I'm trying to answer as much as I can. No, I don't ever tune a Honda. Cooper is with Cletus. Amen. Yes. All right. Trans brake for the 10. Somebody asked about the 10-speed ZL1. I think that Sloppy Mechanics did a thing with the 4L80 about the poor man's trans brake, basically grounding out the second gear and kind of being able to hold the car in second gear while you're on the button, letting go, and thing downshifts the first gear. The thought had crossed my mind in order to be able to do something like they had done. I really kind of wanted to talk to them, see if they could possibly help me out on that. That 10-speed automatic is the bomb. It's absolutely sick. With a 10-speed automatic, you really don't need a stall converter anymore. The thing has such a crazy shift extension. It's like, 6,400 RPM, 5,800 RPM, 6,400 RPM, 5,800 RPM. There's so many different gears to work with, so it's just like, it's sick. Don't need a converter anymore. It's got super aggressive first gear. I don't see how putting a converter in that transmission is going to be able to make it any better whatsoever. So, moving right along. How many dogs does my family have? 5 dogs. Okay. Can you go over the proper way to build a blown engine? What are the things we need besides the blower and PCM? Okay. Good question. Back in the day, everybody was like, hey, you got to have like 9-to-1 to run a blower on it. Not the case at all. Ask Dickie V. You can, depending on what kind of boost and what kind of fuel you're going to run, that makes all the difference. If you have the ability to run 85 in your area, I would strongly do it. And but even on 93 octane, I would strongly recommend, say, 10-to-1 is a good, solid place to be. LSA blower the world. LSA the world. I've said it many times. Hopefully, you guys can, I'm a big LSA proponent. Once you've felt that positive displacement supercharger, you never, ever, ever want to go back. By the way, this is a little bit of apple moonshine mixed with the Maker's Mark. So yes, there has been a couple moonshine remarks, and you're right. All right. So, like I said, really opening up that exhaust port, really sending a larger exhaust duration on the camshaft, and Let's see here. Super efficient blower like the LSA. I don't think you specified what. I don't think you specified what blower you were going to do, but definitely recommend really efficient blower like the LSA blower. Concentrate on cooling, and if you concentrate on cooling, the rest will fall in line. So good cold air intake, and typically a trunk tank. If you can do a trunk tank with circulating really a decent amount of fluid, like 3 to 5 gallons, so that it doesn't heat up very, very quickly, and you have a decent heat exchanger on it. We like to use the thermal plates. That is a product that we make, but we make them because they work and they really do help the efficiency of the blower. So thermal plate goes in between the blower and the cylinder head, helps limit the transmission of heat from the cylinder head to the blower. So if you think about your coolant temp, however hot the coolant temp is however hot the cylinder head is. However hot the cylinder head is how hot the blower is. You put a barrier in between there, now you're doing something. So concentrate on the heat, and if you can address all of your heat issues, you will have a very efficient system. You should be able to run more spark advance on pump gas before having knock. And then if you run a good fuel like E85, all the better. Drink. Sounds like a good idea. Holly is not part of my dogs. That is Garrett's dog. But it is Penelope's sister, and she is a sexy girl. And one time I might bring her out here. She's a hot dog. She's a hot dog. Oh man, somebody's put me in a little. All right. I have missed that. How far back was that? Oh, there we go. LS3C6 is centrifugal the best route for LS3C6 is the centrifugal the best route to get 600 wheel. It's pretty darn good. And on the VET, the centrifugal has a fantastic spot. So there are certain platforms where I'm like, hey, you know, again, we kind of talk about torque versus weight. So on a car that's heavy like the CTS-V or the ZL1, do put a positive displacement supercharger because it is just darn heavy. If you got a car like a C6, it's pretty darn light, and it is very difficult to try and get that tire to hook. So centrifugal has its place there. Centrifugal is a very good power adder on that platform. I had a C7 with a centrifugal, made 700 wheel, that never had a traction problem. The thing worked fantastic. So, but again, like I said, with anything with forced induction, if you can, please open up the exhaust. Do put a header on it. It's always a good idea to throw methanol on it. That has nothing to do with exhaust, but you're raising the octane. So if you can put a cam in it or port the heads, or even a small cam and ported heads, now you're doing something. You're actually making more power with less stress on the engine. So I know we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier with the whole Dick EV thing, and we were talking about how to make power and stuff. But if you can, with forced induction, it wants little to no exhaust, and I mean the most free-flowing exhaust. So a large tube header, like a 1 7/8, a larger duration exhaust, so something that has a larger split towards the exhaust, and a very free-flowing exhaust port on the cylinder. Sloppy is a good dude. I haven't really done any direct business with him, but he is a very clever guy, and I do admire his builds. The neighbor build actually turned out absolutely amazing. Oh, wait, we got Penelope up here. Come on. Come here, get that boo up here. That's Penelope, all right? So she's pretty hot, right? What can you do to lower intake air temps on a C7 Z06? Glad you asked, sir. We make a line of products that can help with that. So let's talk about something here as the medium of the cooling. So if you have a fluid as the cooler, so you have a positive displacement supercharger like we're talking about, LSA or LT4, something like that. You're using coolant as the the medium for what you're cooling the hot intake air charge. If you can shed that coolant and run a higher concentration of water water cools faster. So think of the coolant in there almost like it's like a syrupy, thicker mixture. It holds the heat longer. That being said, if you can run a thinner mixture like straight water and water wetter, that would be the ideal thing. I do set up C706s for track days. There's a number of things that can work. I haven't used the LG dual intercooler yet, but what I have done is we've taken the intercooler that is front facing. So the thing with the C706 is that about 80% of the airflow that comes through the front grill is hitting the intercooler first, and it is not hitting the radiator, so they get hot. What we've done is we laid that down, created a scoop on top of it, very much like I have on my Miata, if you look back at one of the Miata videos, and it really works well. So you're scooping air in right here. You're still getting a lot of airflow into the radiator, and if you create a negative, which is also called a venturi, it will draw air through. So you're forcing air through the front, and you're creating a venturi on the back, and it will keep those intake air temperatures low. It is a bit difficult to do, but we do it. It is a little bit expensive. There's a number of other ways to do it, but I guarantee it's probably cheaper than an LG set. All right. Oh, aluminum 5.3 and the E46. That is going to be a lot of fun. E46 is a good platform, and you know, doing something light in that platform is good. Come on, get up here. Come on. Oh man. She's not going to look at the camera, but I wish she would look at that. All right. What kind of power can the 10 speeds hold? And without modding, the 10 speed is an amazing transmission, but it's always better with the tune. I've done a handful of them, and they're definitely amazing. But I would really recommend tuning them. Unfortunately, HP Tuners really has a. It's a bit expensive to do. So I think it's $200 to license the transmission. It's $200 to unlock the transmission, but totally and completely worth it because the transmission is roughly about half the tune. What's that? Oh. Okay, so Albert Vasquez. Jeremy, my tuner is being a PETA when I told him that I wanted to tune my heads and cam W6 forged rod piston on ED5 and ED5 nitrous. What do you think about that? Honestly, if you get the correct, I don't know if you have a W6 that sounds like you don't have the ability to run the flex fuel sensor, but you should be able to run just straight E85. If you're going to run straight E85, that should be a known mixture. I would test your local station. And here's a big common misconception. People are like, hey, look, if you're going to run E85, I don't want to run straight E85 without this because I never know what I'm going to get. Well, if you get anything less than E85, it's just going to run richer. So keep that in mind. People are like, oh, I don't want to mess up my tune because, I can't run this if it's anything other than 85%. That's not true. Here's the thing. So think about it like this. If you are, again, let's kind of just, think of it as that whole pie chart is 106 octane if you're true 85%, true 85. If you're anything less than that, let's just say you're at 70%, okay? If you're at 70%, you might be 105 octane. If your car is tuned within an inch of its life with that 1 octane point, usually that's not the case, and most people aren't going to have that issue. So if you're anything less than that, it will be just slightly richer, and more than likely you shouldn't knock, especially if the car is naturally aspirated. If it's naturally aspirated with nitrous, like you're saying, it's such a small deal. I mean, you almost don't have to retard timing. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Each relationship with a tuner and their experience is going to be unique. So I wish you well with it, Mr. Albert, and I hope you can get the car tuned. All right. Mr. Super Sport Enthusiast, we will see you soon, brother. Okay, Mr. Tim Wise, I've seen many rotaries, single turb skis make 400 horsepower, 493 pound-feet torque, 17 PSI. That's a lot of boost, buddy. 17 pounds of boost is over double atmosphere. So when you think about that, that's about 200 horsepower and 190 pound-feet of torque. So they are amazing motors, don't get me wrong. And they have their place, but it would not be my selection in most cars. Anything that is over probably about 1,300 pounds. All right. LSA on 89 octane, bad idea. If you're going to do it, it can be done, but you're really going to have to neuter it and really going to have to gut the timing curve. Not planning on puking. If we keep the whiskeys coming, might happen, but probably not likely. I'm trying to make a supercharger kit for a rotary engine. That's an interesting idea. I would set the vacuum controller with blow-off valve and turn it all. Interesting idea, Mr. Death Rage Performance. I'd like to see how that turns out. Thoughts on a high stall torque converter on a high mileage car? Define high mileage, Redbeard's Corner. You know, I once heard a transmission guy say, let sleeping dogs lie. If it's working, I mean, if we're talking over 150,000 miles, if you ever put a stall converter, do put a tranny cooler. Mandatory. Absolutely mandatory. Please do it. When I met my wife, she had a 98 Camaro, and I think she went through like 3 or 4 different transmissions, you know, six transmissions. Sorry. Yeah. It had long story, but anyway, just put a tranny cooler on it. Let's just say that, and on top of that, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, I would recommend knowing a good person that can build a transmission, just in case. Does Leroy have cathedral port heads? Yes, he does. Me personally, I did recommend LS7 rectangle port heads. However, the Texas speed heads that are on there are absolutely killing it. The turbos are doing what they should do, and you know, it's working out pretty well. You can have a cathedral port head that flows amazing and do really, really well. But an LS7 head, I do believe, is still by far the most superior cylinder. Doing a big block truck build, what is the best transfer case? I'm sorry, brother, I don't know the answer to that. P.O. Box, I think we should probably, well, there is an address on our website. Please check it out. I do appreciate it. You know, I also like a lot of other whiskeys, like Stranahan's. That's a good one, or Whistle Pig. I was thinking about having a Whistle Pig tonight, but I opted for the Maker's Mark and the Moonshine. So that's where we're at. Oh, man, this is so weird. I'm scrolling down and I lost my spot here. It goes way up there. All right, what would you do? What would you recommend in a 2018 8 Camaro or a 10 Mustang GT? Man, as of right now, I am a Chevy guy, dyed in the wool, but I absolutely, totally respect the new Ford product. The A10, the transmission alone is amazing. The platform of the 5-liter is also, that's a hot ticket, man. If I was considering an A8 Camaro, it is fast. I have a customer that went 11.0 or 11.1, I believe, up in Long Island, in fact. Very fast car with bolt-ons. Just bolt-ons, 11.0. That's pretty darn fast. However, that A10 is going to 60-foot better. It has a better first gear, and it's a pretty wicked transmission. So I'm a Chevy guy, but that 2018 Mustang is so sick. It is so badass. The one that Lund tuned with the twin turbos went 860s or 870s or something like that. That is top notch, man. Absolutely amazing. Oh man. All right, so let's see. Required with flex fuel sensors. Fuel. Okay, Greg Huff. You asked a question about the fuel line loop required with the flex fuel sensors, or are they just included with the kits to make them easier to install? The loop. So what we do is we have a bypass. So going through the sensor, if we don't feel that the sensor is going to be a major restriction, which there is a small pressure drop in there. So with a small pressure, oh, there's Penelope. There's a small pressure drop on that, and if it's a borderline fuel system, what we'll do is we'll run the bypass so there's no restriction. And if we can do that, then we will do that where it is necessary. If we run it on a naturally aspirated car, we will, it's just it's just a straight through. So progress on the Porcupines. I've been busy and been out of town a whole bunch, so it's like I'm trying to get back to stuff. I'm trying to get the darn thing on the dyno. Have a bunch of other customer cars coming in, so we are going to try and figure that out. 150,000 miles, Redbeard's Corner. Yeah, that's a decent amount of mileage on a stock tranny. But let's. I don't know. I would definitely say just make sure you got a good tranny guy as a backup plan there. What's that?
Only when you like me.
Oh, funny story here. So we had actually talked about meeting my wife, street racing and all that. So yeah, she was a street racing girl, and basically, I'm trying to remember how this story went exactly. I think she thinks that I sprayed her, and I don't think I sprayed her. I think I beat her on motor. I think the car was just fast, and her car was just slow. Okay, she swears to this day that I sprayed her, but I didn't. So I had a heads cam C5 fixed roof coupe, and I think it was Mason. I think it was making like 412 horsepower. It's actually more power than what you were making anyway. So I don't think that I was actually spraying her. So I think I might have sprayed her just to really totally, just dominate, or just really put her down, put her back in the kitchen. No, but I don't really remember honestly if I sprayed her or not. She's going to swear that I did, and I'm probably going to say that I didn't. It just the car had a better chassis and was better to set up to begin with, but who knows? HP Tuners is by far the most user-friendly software and pretty awesome stuff. I'm waiting on my HP Tuner sponsorship here, so we're going to work on that here. LS408, where was that? Hold on, I just missed it, darn it. Hold on. Oh, there we go. All right. Mr. Garrett Hall, NA408 LS ported heads and profile intake. Power estimate. Dude, I got to know a whole lot more than that. What kind of compression, what cylinder heads, what headers, what is it in? Is it a manual or automatic? We'll get on to that. All right. Somebody asked, with the LS1 with mild cam, LS6 intake, would I benefit from adding 85 millimeter throttle body with adapter? No, not really, because the throttle body still necks down to 75 millimeters on the LS6 intake manifold. All right. What is your opinion of running 411 PCM on a big block Chevy? Glad you asked. I just did one on one of the videos up in Pennsylvania. I forget the title of the video. It was in I think an old Chevelle or a Nova, and it was actually a 572, and it was awesome. It worked out totally good. Loved it, and no. Someone, Careless Creations, asked if I tuned Leroy with the intake. No, actually, Garrett and I were on the phone today talking about that it needs some tweaking, and we're going to probably do that when it gets back in town. Am I going to build a drag car? I think my days of building a drag car are long over. I have been there and done that, and spent a lot of money chasing records, and it is fleeting. I'm a manual trans guy in an automatic world. So it is difficult to try and chase that. I think the success rate for a manual trans is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 10%. It's really aggravating, but I love shifting gears so I'm a kind of glutton for punishment when it comes to that. What are my plans with Miata? We need to release some more videos on that. She's a mean machine. We are going to probably do some more stuff with possibly adding some aero and maybe a roll bar. That might be in the near future. Possibly taking some more guys for rides and scaring the pants off them. I can't wait to do that. Chance to know the setup of a blow-off valve, vacuum control with the supercharged setup. I have everything figured out except that. Ugh, death rage. You're going to have to do some looking up of how you're going to do that. So when you go to zero vacuum, you want to shut the bypass valve, and everything that blower is producing is going into your rotary. Oh, man, let's see here. My thoughts on progressive nitrous control system. Mr. John Dobson, progressive nitrous controller. So when I was telling the story about going out and beating those guys on the street, I had a nitrous progressive controller, and that is definitely something that works into, if you're the traction limitations of what you were doing, naturally aspirated or force induction, whatever you're at, if you're at your traction limitation, the progressive nitrous controller is your best friend, certainly. So if you are going to be making some big power, you have a drag radial and you're pushing it as far as you can push it, and you want more power, and you're going to be using your progressive controller, that's the way to go. Have it feather on to an area where you know you have traction and come in fairly aggressively so that you really can put down the optimal amount of power. Progressive nitrous controller is by far the best way to go. So moving right along. Do I recommend face-plated gears? I haven't really had the chance to drive much of them, but a few. It's not often most street car guys do that. The newer transmissions are freaking sick. You can just rip them. TR6060 is absolutely top tier, gear. You can no lift shift that effortlessly. So, I haven't really had, Joe Marsal. I wonder if this is the Joe Marsal that had the GTOs back in the day. I hope it is. If it is, still remember you, brother. Had a lot of good times with you. Thanks for letting me crash at your place. I still have some memories of ripping that GTO, the turbo GTO, way back up at Rollins. Better for quarter mile. I don't Redbeard's Corner. I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that. I'm putting LS2 with an 850 carb in my Nova. I'm using Spark on a budget. Thoughts, Mr. Jacob Bennett. You can probably do the Holly Sniper. Might do what you want it to do. All right, so a little too far there. One moment. All right, we're getting there, folks. We're getting there, folks. All right. Format TR6. What is the best way to go for reliable power on 5.3 GMC Sierra? Use it for towing the boat, header, cam, blower. I'd like to make more power for towing. That is a great place to start. Depends on what year 5.3 GMC. You can most certainly do very well by adding the blower. It does. I have a friend that did that up in Pennsylvania, Ryan Bailey. A lot of guys might know him. He actually has a YouTube channel, Deceiving Bailey. Has a Escalade with an LSA, and it is so much freaking fun. That big fat thing with the blower on it just gets out of its own way. He does use it for towing, and it works out quite well. But again, if you can better the intake and exhaust, just as you had said, header, cam, absolutely, you're on the right track. Run a smaller cam that is probably going to make better bottom end mid-range torque. Brandon Watson, he said, talk about a drift car. Why not the Miata? I thought about the Miata. The Miata I want to use for a different purpose. In order to get that really good for drifting, first of all, it is not the ideal chassis. I want something that's a little bit longer wheelbase. Really, from what I've heard by a number of pro drifters, that the 350Z would be the ideal way to go. We'll see about that. I am actually pretty excited. I got, just like I said, you guys got to help me talk my wife in. Maybe even, we'll start a little, something where we can work that out. I'll definitely take a lot of guys for rides in the 350Z, really get the car control thing under my belt and go from there. All right, 408 LS, 10.5 to 1, prepping for single turbo, Brian Tool stage 2 cam. Hell yeah, that'll fly, man. I would say 16 pounds of boost, you make 1,000 horsepower, Mr. Garrett Hall. Show enough. I really didn't get beat by a girl. It probably has happened. What's that? Yeah, she physically beats me, but not drag racing wise. Okay. All right. Cam, should I do a stock 08 Silverado Max? Brian Tooley and Texas Speed have some freaking wicked camshafts. We'll check them out. They're definitely they got their act together, and I think I had a 99 truck that I used I did a little bit of towing, but mainly it was just kind of a baby hauler that was fun. We had heads cam and turbo on a 99 Silverado. I did a 216, 220 camshaft. That's like 15, 20-year-old technology, but there's a much better stuff up there now. All right. We definitely, somebody asked, why don't I collaborate with Cletus? I just started my YouTube channel. He's really busy. I'm busy. We're kind of like ships passing in the night sometimes, but we do talk frequently. He is one of my best friends, and that's where we're at, man. All right, thank you so much for answering my question. LSA and an L96 Express fan. LSA the world. LSA the world. What kind of Prius? Thank you. Yeah. I can say that. All right. OS. Hiding them in my beard. Sometimes a sparrow might fly in there. Nothing more larger than a sparrow. I've maybe a squirrel periodically. Okay. Garrett uploading next. It's like every 2 days. Okay, buddy. What made you go Miata? Trumper thing. Oh my gosh. What made me go Miata? You'd have to watch my Miata video, brother. Oh. All right. Trying to catch up here, guys. Sorry, got a lot of things here. Okay, so in regards to Father Booty Hands, that's a fantastic name here. Okay, SR20. The story that I had mentioned earlier about the guy that was making a stock bottom end record versus the domestic. I don't know if you're here at that time, but that was the factory highest horsepower stock bottom end at the time. It was enthalpy tuning. That was the car that I'm mentioning. Don't hear that the SR20s have the best reliability. Decent bang for the dollar. I don't know. If you're going to be doing drifting, a lot of times my questions with a forced induction car going drifting is the fact that it doesn't really get good heat exchanging through the intercooler because you're going sideways most of the time. So just something to consider. What would be your modern intake on the L88? All right, I don't know if we're talking the old school L88 with the big block intake. So what we're going to do here is we're going to kind of tone this down. We're going to probably end in about, let's just call it 8 minutes. So I'll try and answer the best of you guys' questions here in that time frame and go from there. 2008 or 2009 GAGT with full long-term sport to take the 150 shot occasionally. Check out some of the cams. Like I said, Texas Speed, Brian Tooley. Thank you. I'm not a tuning god. I'm just a guy that tries real hard and works really hard to get the final result. But I thank you and appreciate it. Favorite car manufacturer? Look, I can't help it. But I'm really, really, really liking a McLaren lately. Not that I can swing one or anything like that, but they are freaking wicked cars. Connor, hello from Australia. Glad to have you, brother. We're gonna try and put a. All right, let's see here. Somebody asked, where are we getting our dogs from? We've got our dogs from a number of breeders, and we have quite the collection. So hopefully we'll be able to share with the world all of our dogs that we will be breeding in the future. All right, how do I start running 85 on an 03 Sierra? Well, first of all, you got to get a flex fuel sensor. Cheers, please. All right. Ignition switch controversy. You have any advice for anyone that aspires to become a tuner like yourself? I will tell you what, man. You better pray to God that you can keep a family and kids, because it is a very, very demanding profession. So it is. So being a tuner is very, very difficult. It requires a hell of a lot of time and time away, and it requires you to be a perfectionist. So I wish you well. But being a tuner has amazing perks. I've met some amazing people. and it is a hell of a lot of fun. So there's got some very, very good positive things, and there are some pretty low times too. So BTR and TSP, hey, look, I can't say that. Okay. Yes, have a bunch of videos coming up from Miami. Some of the video wasn't that good, but we're going to try and make it work. So will I race Leroy with a Miata? That is a knife in a gunfight. There is no chance there whatsoever. Okay, Leroy is by far and away a monster, and the little Miata is fast. And me and Cooper have shared a little something, and but possibly I will say me and Neighbor might have a little bit of a race. That might happen, even though that's a lot of power in that car. I think I could give him a little bit of a run for his money. Oh, what is the first? Oh. More Norman or Penelope? All right. Okay. All right. Yes. Somebody said something about my wife. Yes, she is awesome. She's helping me out do this. So thank you guys. Is it worth it converting the 85 for head cam daily driver LS1 motor? Sort of. On the last E85 video, you can kind of check that out. Like I said, an LS1, which is a port fuel injection, because it already has the fuel spraying through the intake, it cools the intake charge, and thus going to E85 on that benefits less. On a direct injection car, it benefits more. How do I charge a customer for a vehicle? Like I said, it's kind of a flat rate. Varies on the job and what we're doing. How is E85 with towing? It makes more power. Do you need a flex fuel sensor if you want to switch fuels? I just want to run E. If you're going to run straight E85 and E85 all the time, technically you don't need a flex fuel sensor, but I would recommend a flex fuel sensor because you can kind of go back and forth. All right. Hey, Mr. Father Booty Hands, that's pretty awesome with your SR20. If you're having that good luck with it, man, stick with it. It is a very decent engine. I've been impressed by what it can do, and like I said, a smaller engine that makes less torque works fantastic in a lower weight vehicle. So if it's working for you, man, stick with it, dude. That's freaking awesome. Okay. Yeah, just lift on that one. So run. Okay. Okay, somebody asked, what is the best Camaro should I start with? The newest Camaro is the best Camaro. And that's not always the way, but it is. The new Camaro is freaking sick, man. You can do a little bit of stuff to it, full bolt-ons, and that thing is pretty darn razor sharp. Make a lot of power, and should be able to run a ultra low 11. Even in Florida heat, it is an amazing power plant. Going up. Which one is that here? All right, let's see here. What is the coolest car I've ever seen or tuned? I don't know, man. I get a lot of cars on a regular weekly basis that are pretty darn sweet. So I mean, it's really like, what's your favorite song? I mean, there's so many good things out there. It's kind of hard to put that. So just recently I did a GT40. I think I mentioned that on the other live feed. It was a super cool car, very different experience. Was it my favorite car? No. But was it a super cool experience? Absolutely. It's something that I'll probably never forget, and something that I might never experience again. Flex fuel sensor line, probably a higher fuel pump. Consider bringing a second tuner to assist with your workload. Nick Santarpia. I have actually, through starting to tune in the very early years, you can't keep everybody happy, and the nature with business is that's just the way it is. You have to accept that you can't keep everybody happy. I ended up making a couple of other basically competitors, you know, and there's other people that are out there tuning. But like I said, I'm just the guy that tries to go the extra mile and really, really do the best for my customers. So I thought about I can probably teach a couple of people some other things. Will I teach them everything I know? Probably not. My kids might be the only people that I might tell everything that I know to, but it's just because of, you know, once bit, twice shy. You know, that's kind of the thing. Somebody asked, does ED5 really burn 140% more than regular fuel? Yes, it does. Okay, just by the stoichiometric, which is a fancy word for air-fuel ratio. Yes, in order to get the correct, it does take a lot more fuel to make the same energy. However, because the fuel is a cooling fuel and because it is very high octane, that is where ED5 is the benefit. More Norman? All right, any noise complaints from all the dining we do? No, we are in a industrial area. Pouring a standard LS1 throttle body. Is it a waste of time? It will gain throttle response, and most of the time when we port throttle bodies, we don't claim any horsepower, but and basically, you know, porting the throttle body gains throttle response, but I don't claim any horsepower. Anybody who's claiming that they are picking horsepower up from a throttle body is probably not telling the God's honest truth. All right, so look, we'll bring Norman up here again, all right? Turbo Viper truck in the building. Well, that would be interesting to tune. It would be. Owns the shop. It's just Cohen. Yes, we kind of split the rent. It is a lease that we have, and so Garrett has his part. I have my part. All right, here. Sorry, Widow Full. I don't remember what your question was. I'm going to try and answer it. Just try to type it in one more time. All right. All right. Somebody asked, how did me and Garrett meet? You're going to have to rewatch this at some point. I explained it a little bit earlier. If I came to Texas to tune, it would take a lot of cars lined up in order to make that work. Oh, yes. Man, I don't know what kind of I have no idea on that platform personally. That should be very similar to a 350, Mr. Beautiful, but that's a very large cam for that size engine. So, but anyhow, we're going to wind it down here. So we're going to be our last little minute here. Wanted to say thank you guys for watching. This has been fun. I didn't really expect to be doing this, but here, Norman, come on, Pete, come on. All right, yeah, come on, guys. We're gonna get the Pete over here. Oh, she's got a big old thick booty. She's a hot little lady though. You know, you have to kind of, yeah. If I take her ball though and throw it though, she's going to leave. So we're just gonna keep it around here. Oh. So hopefully I answered most of you guys' questions. You know, one of the things I wanted to mention is, you know, I really appreciate you guys supporting us and looking to the future to be able to do all sorts of cool stuff. You know, at some point we'll ask you guys for a number of different ideas of what you might want to see. I got a whole bunch of stuff that I want to be able to do before we even get there, and it's gonna some pretty cool stuff. So. You know, like I mentioned, we do want to try and do some sort of drift thing. I do want to do the build-off with Cletus and Neighbor. That is going to be something pretty fun. Hopefully we can make that happen sometime soon. Oftentimes I'm gone tuning, and it is very difficult to try and kind of, you know, it's like you pick this side up and that side sags and all that type of thing. So I have so many different irons in the fire, and I'm doing the best I can here. But we'll keep you guys entertained. Hopefully keep all sorts of good information coming your way. Say it again. Oh, yes. Please check out our fasterpromsstore.com. And we've got our t-shirts there. We'll have some more t-shirts coming out. And like I said, I appreciate you guys supporting us, because otherwise we couldn't be able to do this. And we want to be able to get you guys kind of the best. I want to be a straight shooter with you. I want to tell you everything that I've learned through my 18 years of experience tuning, and hopefully, just help you guys with whatever build you have going on. Or if you're not doing a build, just something that's pretty darn good and entertaining. And we got a whole lot of things that hopefully that we can share with you and help you with your build. So, LP. Oh, we got one more here. Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm going to try and replace the fire detector. So, all right, love you guys. Thank you guys, and God bless. Have a great Sunday night, and I wish you well throughout the week, and we'll try and have some more stuff coming your way. Peace.